Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm, and you are watching fifth and final part of What If Naruto Was Sealed for a Millennia. If you enjoy this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Most of the time, Naruto didn't even go to school. He did nothing but sit on the roof and either read books from this world, take a nap, or eat something he brought with him. He was pretty much doing what he had done for most of his time in school, skipping class and having fun. He would have added training to that if he were training himself at the time. Life as usual. Normal life, dodging blue fireballs of spiritual power that he kicked into the air so they wouldn't explode against the building. Normal Naruto Uzumaki life. Listen, lady, I'm at school right now. Can you wait to attack me until I go jogging around town at 7:30 tonight? Naruto asked as he kicked a couple more fireballs back at the woman who had shot them at him. Nya ha ha. She was hot, and she attacked out of nowhere. She was one of the shortest hotties he had ever seen, but her breasts were almost as big as Ria's own. She was wearing a black kimono and had long black hair. Her obi had a golden bell at the waist and she was wearing sandals. She has yellow eyes and cute cat ears on top of her head. Several illusions of her started to show up around the roof. Several copies of Naruto showed up and destroyed the illusions as soon as she made them, while the real cat girl dodged a kick from one of the copies. Come on, boy toy, why don't you show off that senjutsu you used against Kokabeel over the ocean? Let's see what you've got, Loverboy Nya. Ew. Naruto groaned as he kicked a fireball back at her. At that moment, the leg of his pants was ripped off. Someone must have known he used senjutsu during the fight with Kokabeel and was now after him for it. I'd rather not. I mean, this is the roof of a school. Attack at another time. Naruto said the same thing again. She held back her power so the devils inside the building wouldn't be able to feel her attacks. No, it was just a wall. People couldn't hear them fight because there was a barrier around the roof. It's crazy to think that this day started with him spanking Rias for being bad. Now, he thought, he was being forced to fight another beautiful girl in a fight to the death. Nope. At least, I thought, Naruto gave her a good punch to the cheek, which threw her into the metal roof door. Her body left a mark on the door, and when she coughed, she got stuck in the door and had to pull herself out. Tell me about yourself first. Naruto made a copy of himself next to him. He used it to help him make a Rasengan. He used the Rasengan to block a few fireballs, and when they got close enough, he destroyed them by holding it close to the ground. He took note. Slowly, mist was building up around the roof, and Naruto's attack made the mist get sucked up by the spinning ball in his hand. As soon as she tried to use her poison fog, it stopped working. He gave the spinning ball to his clone, who jumped off the roof and popped it, letting the mist blow away peacefully in the wind. Poison mist? Are you kidding? Naruto asked her questions. That's not fair. Show me your senjutsu already, because I'm going to show you mine. This isn't. He said. Naruto stopped yelling and pointed at her. He had a small smile on his face because he was amused. And you call that senjutsu? Naruto couldn't believe she was using senjutsu, so he asked her. She came to a stop. Huh? I mean, you didn't even become one with nature. You're just taking it in to make yourself stronger. You're not getting any balance, and the natural energy you're absorbing is improving you like senjutsu, but... You really call that senjutsu? Naruto asked, and the way he looked at her told her he didn't believe her. Kuroka. So you're Kuroka, but seriously, that's not senjutsu. That's just stealing from nature. It's strong, but nature is mad at you because you stole from it. Naruto told them. Sages could see natural energy around them even when they weren't in sage mode. This was the first step in learning to master sage mode. To learn how to sense and see natural energy, and he could see that Kuroka was stealing it from nature, but she wasn't combining or fusing it with her own power. It wasn't a fair situation. She was still alive and her name was still Kuroka. She hadn't died yet as a living thing and turned into part of nature. Becoming one with nature and stopping being just a person was the most basic part of senjutsu. Yes, this is senjutsu. Please don't make fun of its power, Nya. Kuroka was upset that Naruto had said something bad about her skills. She went at him very quickly. He got her with a knee to the stomach, which bent her over so he could hit her back with both fists. Her head hit the roof, but it didn't do any damage because all of his strength was going into the blow to her back. He was able to get all of his power into her, leaving her stunned. "Oh, so that's your senjutsu. It's powerful." Kuroka moaned as she jumped onto the roof's railing. "I'm still not using senjutsu." "Just use it." Kuroka turned red with shame. She thought that he was in charge of his strength and that the power that hurt her was just his natural strength and not something he had worked on. "You have so much incredibly powerful chakra, and you're not even using senjutsu to boost it. I can't even tell where your chakra ends, it's like you're an ocean with no bottom. Just use senjutsu already." Kuroka was complaining as she pointed a finger at Naruto in an accusing way. "Why are you already attacking me out of the blue?" "No real reason, I just sensed you and wanted to check you out." When he answered that question, Kuroka brushed off his worries. They just looked at each other blankly for a few seconds. "You can't tell how much chakra I have, but you still chose to fight me. What do you hope to gain?" Naruto asked her in a straight-faced way. "Why would you go out of your way to fight someone who was out of your league and would do you no good?" He didn't understand how it made sense. "I want to know if you're good enough to hook up with me, NYA. What?" When he thought of that answer, Naruto asked with a twitch of his eyebrow. He hoped that he had heard wrong. "I'm a nekosho, a rare type of nekomata, and I want a strong mate to have babies with. My race is so rare that we're almost extinct." "But you're a devil." "Devil and nekosho. But none of your children will ever be pure-blooded nekosho, so how are you?" "You're not making more nekosho, you're making a hybrid race." "That logic. What's wrong with your logic? Are you stupid?" Naruto looked at her with worry and confusion in his eyes and asked. Did she even see the mistake in her thinking? "Well, of course I." "Wait." Kuroka blinked when she realized that none of her kids would be real nekosho. Instead, they would all be a mix of nekosho and devil. She wasn't reviving or improving her species. Instead, she was making the devil species stronger by mixing in her nekosho blood in a powerful mate. "Wait a minute." Kuroka put up her hand to tell everyone to stop fighting. She had to give this some thought. She was a mix of nekosho and devil. Naruto was a person. Most of the time, nekosho women had children who were the same race as the mother, but who also had traits from the father. For example, a lot of magical power or potential, but not things like humanity. Would my children be devils with nekosho powers, or nekosho with devil powers, or hybrids with both powers mixed with your powers? Give me a minute, I need to think about this. Kuroka had never really given this much thought before. She only wanted to bring her species back to life, but after Naruto said something about it, she didn't even know if that was possible. "Are you sure that my kids won't grow up to be powerful nekosho?" Kuroka asked Naruto. She had to be certain. "I'm not a scientist, I'm stupid just like you are." "Neither am I." "Well, at least my children should still have nekosho genes. Maybe they won't have much devil blood. Now kick me in the behind and make me have a baby so we can find out, NYA." Kuroka got ready for another fight with Naruto. He went where? Neon. Kuroka was behind Naruto, and he grabbed her by the tail and held on so tight that she fell to her knees in pain. "Seriously, you attack me out of the blue. Are you stupid? You attack me, you dumbass, so why would I want to have kids with you? If you only mate with guys stronger than you, and you attack them to find out how strong they are, what happens when that guy doesn't want to fuck you and decides to kill you instead?" Naruto used his free hand to start hitting Kuroka on the back of the head. He gave her a wake-up call. She thought that made sense. I'm an idiot. As soon as Naruto let go of her, Kuroka knew. She raised both hands to her head. She had won against almost all of the guys she thought were strong, so she had never lost to a guy who would have killed her. Now that she thought about it, she usually started fights with attacks that caught her opponent off guard. People usually thought she was a killer at first because she came at them with such force. Holy crap, fuck, I'm so lucky. Kuroka gripped her hair. She got really lucky. She was lucky that none of her victims were stronger than her. If they had been, they might have just killed her instead of putting a baby inside of her. You do know that if you lose the fight, another member of your species will die. How dumb am I that I didn't think of that? Thanks, Naruto-kun. Do you want me to thank you with my body? By moving her kimono, Kuroka showed off her nipple. What's that face for? Kuroka saw that Naruto was even less interested in her. He just put his hand up. It's fine, you're really hot, but you're so stupid and skanky that it kind of turns me off. You should be less slutty and more seductive, and you shouldn't show off your nipples right away. Being too forward can turn guys off just as much as it does girls. Naruto told her about his face. What do you know even about seduction? -5 minutes later. As Naruto got rid of his transformation and clones, there were clouds of smoke around the roof, and Kurama was left on her behind. Her nose was bleeding, and she looked like she was in a daze. There are so many hot, charming men. I'll have you know that I created the fighting style pervy ninjutsu, and you won't find a ninja who is more seductive than me. It's not only about flashing. It's also about power, holding back, and letting go. You need to make a bigger impression. You just showed me your nipples, and you did so after we were done fighting, after you randomly attacked me while I was eating my lunch. You have a lot to learn. Naruto got mad and crossed his arms. First, you should let your kimono slide down your arms more. Then, let some of your hair fall between your cleavage like this. Naruto started to work on her way of being seductive. After a few minutes, Naruto took a picture of Kurama with the phone he was given so he could show her the changes he had made to make her more sexually appealing. Hot damn. I look even sexier than usual. This is what you call seduction. Kurama put her clothes back on. Power, containment, and impact. You need to get the enemy's attention with the power of your body, your movements, and your whispers. You don't push it, you let them react, and then bam. Then and only then do you unleash the impact, after your seduction has started to work. Kurama asked Naruto what the most important things were for a woman to do to be seductive. Kurama felt embarrassed when she realized that a guy had just told her how to be a sexier woman. She did a roof jump. Naruto, I'll get you for this. Don't come back during school hours anymore. He hoped she wouldn't come back. Differences. 1. Clothes are made of materials that break easily. 2. People are very weak now. 3. Gods are much more interested in people. 4. Ramen doesn't taste as good. 5. There are a lot more differences between the languages. 6. People are much more sexy, and women are even more so. 7. Life is easy, and death is not always a threat. I don't think I like this new time. Naruto was slowly realizing that he didn't like how easy things had become. Even the enemies he was fighting were not as good as the ones he was used to facing. He was powerful. He was strong even when he was young, but he always had to fight people who were stronger than he was. On his first real mission, he had to fight that ice user and the guy with the big sword. Both of them were very strong. Then he fought those martial artists and the guy who had Shukaku in his stomach. Even after he had trained with his master, he kept fighting cage-level ninja who were better than almost all of the jonin in the village. People during this time were just awful. They didn't have very many different skills, and the ones they did have were very simple. These days, there were 3 types of fighters: power, wizard, and support, and people rarely went outside of what they were good at. Rias was a pure wizard fighter who had almost no ability to fight with his hands, even though his body was pretty strong compared to humans. Sirzex was miles ahead of Rias in this area, but his hand-to-hand skills weren't nearly as good. Kurama was a wizard who fought. She had some power, but her hand-to-hand fighting was pretty simple. Still, she could make herself stronger, but when she didn't use her magical powers. Cyraorg was great at hand-to-hand, and his power was very high, but he didn't have anything else going for him. He didn't have much magic and couldn't do much more than small spells. He was just as good as everyone else at what he did. Damn. I miss the days when most taijutsu guys could still do a powerful ninjutsu or genjutsu, or when most genjutsu guys were pretty good at taijutsu and knew some ninjutsu to back it up. Now it seems like everyone only knows one trick. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and said he didn't like it. In this time period, people only trained to get better at things they were already good at. He was forced by his master to get better at the things he was bad at. He was terrible at genjutsu, so he spent a long time learning how to break illusions with his chakra. He was also not very good at taijutsu, so he was trained to become a jonin, and he always had strong ninjutsu under his belt. He didn't know a lot of ninjutsu, but he was very good at the ones he did know, so he could combine them in interesting ways. People today just don't seem to know how helpful it is to be good at all 3 types of combat. Sup. Ko. Naruto raised one eyebrow as he looked at the girl. Kaneko, what brings you here? As he looked around, Naruto asked. He was sitting by himself in a park near the school. After he kicked Kuroka out, he just skipped the rest of school. Kaneko sat down next to him and opened her school books before starting to study with him. Studying. You're not just here to study, right? Naruto asked with an eyebrow raised. Her kind of expected that she would start to act seductive or do something else while they were alone together. He didn't know why he thought that, but almost every girl he met seemed to be like that. She gave him a raised eyebrow look. Your chakra is warm and calming, which will help you study better. Ah. Continue. That was a reason that Naruto couldn't deny. She didn't talk much. While she was sitting next to him, she just did her work. Recently, I heard you yelling at Bucko. Just so you know, she's been sleeping naked for a long time, so don't be too hard on her. She doesn't always do it in a seductive way. While studying, Kaneko said. Rias had often slept in the same bed with her while he was naked. It was normal for her to do this because she was a peer. She did it with me, Akeno, Gasper, and Issei when she healed him. Almost all of us got the same naked sleep. As Kaneko turned the page in her study materials, she told what she meant. Naruto gave her a look. Women in my era. She isn't from your time. How long did most people live in your time? The average ninja lived until they were about 25. Unskilled ninja died quickly, and very few lived past 30. Naruto said this, and Kaneko raised an eyebrow and looked at Naruto. So many of his people died so young? Well, devils live for thousands of years, but most people only live between 70 and 90 years. They want excitement to fill the void in their lives. People in your time lived exciting, dangerous lives. Kaneko pointed out the main difference. It was danger. That makes sense, because as a ninja got older, they usually got more perverted or weirder. Old ninja were really weird. I guess getting strong meant they lived longer lives with less danger, which makes sense. Naruto had always wondered why, in his time, people got more obsessed with different things as they got older. He could sort of see how Kaneko's idea made sense. So what do you do when you're bored? Good food, rap, and video games. When I was growing up, there weren't many video games, and I'm not a big music fan, but good food sounds. Good? With a dull voice, Kaneko asked him. That's great, and I'm getting hungry. Come on, Kaneko, stop studying. Let's go fishing at the river and have some fun. When Kaneko seemed very interested in that idea, Naruto smiled. Much later. Technically, this is fishing without a license. Fire-cooked fish is great, and I don't care if it's illegal or not. Naruto smiled as he pulled out another fish and threw it to Kaneko, who was standing on dry land. He was standing on top of the water. When a fish came by, he reached under the water and grabbed it. Kaneko took off her shoes and socks and walked into the shallow water where the fish guts would go. She didn't question his reasoning. Why didn't you invite everyone else? Because. I'm a pervert, but. By the standards of my time, I'm a pervert. I sometimes read dirty magazines and I like to look at girls. I also make techniques to tease perverts, but compared to people in this time, even the most perverted people I've known aren't as perverted as people in this time. I don't want to think about how those girls would make fishing perverted. Naruto would have loved to watch them, but he had just had enough of being perverted. Every once in a while, he needed a break from all the pervy stuff, and he just knew that if Rias, Akeno, Xenovia, or any other woman came here with him, this would somehow become pervy. Like wet t-shirts that show off their nips, them skinny dipping or wearing swimsuits that show a lot of skin. He had to take a break. You're not a pervert, are you? I am a pervert. No, you're not. Naruto told Kaneko what a pervert was, and even though she had seen him use his ninjutsu to turn into a pretty woman, that wasn't really pervert. He was messing around with his own body and came up with a way to get people's attention. That wasn't perverted. It was manipulative, and Naruto read dirty books. You didn't describe a pervert, you described a normal guy. Kaneko told him about it. Both men and women were interested in dirty books to some degree, but Naruto didn't look like the type of guy who bought dirty books. He looked like the kind of guy who would look at them, put them back on the shelf, and leave without buying them. He seemed to spend more time training, thinking about training, or doing something useful with his time than giving in to his desires. Eh? Issei masturbates several times a night, according to what his stupid friends have said. Well, that's kind of sad. Naruto didn't do any real masturbation. When he was 12, he found out about the monster fox in his stomach, and then he traveled for years with an old man. He was always training for something, so he never had the time or chance to masturbate. Or, for that matter, the want. He would rather spend his time getting stronger than wasting it on self-love. Plus, knowing that someone was in his gut and could see everything he did meant he was never alone. He could do it whenever he wanted, but there was always someone watching, which made him feel so awkward. By the way, round 4 is almost done cooking. Kaneko felt Naruto run by her quickly and slash her with water as he went. He was already sitting by the fire, picking out a fish to eat, and putting another fish on it to start cooking. Great. Kaneko got out of the water. It tasted good. Naruto used some herbs that grew nearby as the only seasoning, but it tasted great and was very natural. He was really good at what he did, which made the whole thing even more fun. So, what's your story? Naruto asked. When I was younger, I joined Rias. She makes me happy. Kaneko told him in a simple way, and even though he didn't like the answer, it didn't look like he was going to ask her any more questions. Naruto just grinned. She is a nice person, and I also like her. You know, I just met a girl today who reminds me of you. Yes, she tried to kill me. When I was beating her up, she told me to show her my senjutsu, and then she wanted to make babies with me. I told her she was stupid for trying to get babies from someone stronger than her. She sounds stupid. This is where Kaneko agreed with Naruto. Also, she raised an eyebrow when she found out that someone had attacked Naruto at school and no one had even noticed. A lot of people attack you, right? Kaneko asked, his eyebrows raised. Wait, you called me an idiot in that way? When Kaneko realized that Naruto had just said that she reminded him of an idiot, she frowned at him and gave him a dirty look. Naruto gave a head shake. You're not stupid, but you kind of look like her. You have very similar faces and eyes. She has the same yellow eyes as you and a face like a cat. Said the person with whiskers. Fox. I look like a fox because of my whiskers. Cat's face. No matter what, you both have very pale skin. All you have in common is that you look like you could have been sisters. However, your hair colors are different, and your personalities couldn't be more different. A pervert? Kaneko looked like he knew the answer. He made a point at her. You're right, she was a pervert who tried to seduce me, but she didn't know the first thing about how to seduce a man, so I gave her some tips. Can you believe it? She thought she would restore her species, even though she's a mixed breed. Naruto was mad at himself for getting himself into a stupid situation earlier in the day. The little girl in front of him just nodded to show that she agreed. She also thought that was pretty stupid. Naruto talked to Kaneko for hours, and she would sometimes answer when he said something she could talk about. Hours. Literally hours, until the sun came up the next morning, had passed before they were done hanging out. Naruto had a good time. It gave him a break from all the weird, perverted stuff he had been dealing with lately. He should probably try to prank Rias again. So, on the train ride back to the underworld, your peerage will be attacked because you asked a dragon for a favor to test their strength? Naruto asked Rias what she was going to do when school was out for the summer. Her plan was to find out how much her peerage had grown since he gave them a lesson, which he hadn't done again, and they started training on their own. She was putting on a spacesuit at the moment. The new generation spacesuit that Ajuka had made, which wasn't nearly as big as the ones they had been using to get to the moon. She was having her brother try it out right now because she wanted to go to the moon. It fit much tighter and was made of a magical material that put the right amount of pressure on the body and kept it safe from radiation in the harsh conditions of space. On the other hand, the helmet was the most interesting part. There was a small machine that used small amounts of magic to teleport fresh air into the helmet and get rid of the carbon dioxide that the body gave off. It was made to get rid of the time limit on oxygen storage tanks. Rias would be the first person in her peerage to try it out, but she wasn't the first person in the world to try it all. Ajuka was trying to figure out how to make the inside of the moon a place where humanoid life could live. Naruto just didn't get it. They already had places to live, like the underworld and Earth. They didn't need to go to the moon when they already had so much. Kings of a peerage have to take care of their peerage, train them, test them, and see how much they are growing. Our family loves our peerages as if they were family, but we still have to do our jobs as kings. Sirzex made his point while already wearing his suit. He did add his Demon King cape to it, though, because he always wore it. So, Rias, how do you like the suit? Searsex asked his sister. Most devils didn't know what was inside the moon. As of right now, only the 4 demon kings and their families knew the truth, along with Naruto. Ajuka wanted to claim the moon and all of its unique resources for their species so they could have a place that was all theirs. That they wouldn't have to share with any other species, but he thought it would take hundreds of years before he found a way to get oxygen to the inside of the moon. So, are you ready to send Rias somewhere else? Searsex asked his sister. She gave Naruto a look. Can I actually go the other way? Rias knew that Naruto took her brother and Ajuka to the moon, and she wanted the same thing to happen to her. She could teleport to the moon's interior after they got there, but she couldn't do it before they got there. She wanted to do something that very few people ever got to do. Naruto looked at her and Searsex and didn't say anything when he saw the 2 brothers smiling at each other and the older one giving a thumbs up. Later. This is just so magical. Naruto carrying her in his arms as he jumped from clone to clone and went so high into the sky that no living thing could fly was an amazing feeling. Even her species could only fly so high before they ran out of oxygen and passed out. She could see a lot of Earth as they gently floated between jumps. She knew they were moving very fast, but she couldn't feel that weight of speed yet. She was used to living in the city. Everyone could see stars. She turned around and saw that Earth was lit up. When all the lights in the world's big cities were on at night, it looked like the Earth was also covered in stars. On the planet, there were golden stars, and in space, there were stars of every color. She couldn't breathe when she saw it, and if she hadn't been wearing her suit, she would have stopped breathing a long time before that. She looked up at the moon as they fell gently toward it. This is amazing. It's romantic. Rias gave Naruto a hint. He didn't get it. It looks really nice. Yeah. That's pretty. Rias laughed, and then she smiled and sat down on the surface of the moon. She looked in space at the planet and the stars around it. She smiled again, and this time it was even brighter. She patted the ground to call Naruto over. Pretty doesn't do it justice. It's more than just pretty, don't you think? Rias asked Naruto, and she noticed that he didn't seem too impressed by the beauty. It looks great from up here, but it's much better to be on Earth and feel it all. You can't enjoy the taste of good food, the smells, or the sights from afar. It's pretty, but being able to live a full life is much more beautiful. Naruto argued with her when she said he should be amazed by what they were seeing. He did, however, smile at her. But it is a pretty scene. She laughed at the fact that he gave in and agreed with her. He looked sad. Are you okay? When Rias looked at Earth, he was confused by the frown. Yeah, it shows that this isn't the Earth where I grew up. It's different now because time has passed and I'm in a new era. Even the planet is different. The only thing that is the same is that people and supernatural beings hate and hurt each other. I'd like it if Searsex and Ajuka moved your species to the moon. Naruto said this as a smile started to form on his face. He sat down next to Rias and looked saddeningly at Earth. I miss my old memories, Rias. Huh? I remember some of the bad things, and I remember how to fight. So much of my own life is going by without me. I don't remember what my best friend looked like or what his name was, but I do remember that he put his hand through my chest. I don't remember the people I loved at all. The more I interact with the new human era, the further my memories get from me. I don't want to live with humanity. Naruto said this with a sad smile on his face. Rias felt sorry for him and looked at him. What made him smile? You don't like people? No, I don't hate them. I just want to keep them safe. But these people. They hate each other so much that it's overwhelming. There are now billions of people, and billions of them have been taught to hate each other. The countries are also no longer connected. Rias was interested by that line. What difference does it make? They don't speak the same languages. When I was young, we all lived together, even our enemies. We all spoke the same language. Even though we hated each other, living so close to them taught us to respect them. We admired their strength, their will, and their beliefs. We didn't hate them because they lived in another country. We hated them because they killed our people. We were hurt by the cycle of hatred, and people today are hurt by. Naruto had no idea what to even call it. The more he learned about modern people, the more he wanted to get away from them all. Frailty. Naruto finally said. They are weak, he said. They have no physical weaknesses, and even the smallest things make them hate each other. They don't just wish death on people who are against them. They wish death on anyone who is different from them in any way. So, I want to get away from people because they make me remember the worst parts of my time, which makes it harder for me to remember what I loved. I don't want to forget about those times. Naruto's hands were on his knees. He did it for himself. He knew he was being selfish by wanting to leave humanity, but he loved his species so much that he didn't want to be drowned by their hatred. He didn't want to be forced to remember all the memories he hated and forget the ones he liked. Rias didn't have much to say about that. She forgot that she was talking to a man who had lost everything, more than most people ever gain in their whole lives. He was so happy and full of love that she forgot he was a person. She forgot that he wasn't perfect, that he had his own flaws and fears. His fears were very different from hers and from almost everyone else's. He didn't worry about dying, being hurt, or his enemies. Naruto was afraid of being alone and forgetting his good memories. He was also more afraid of his own bad memories than anything else. I love you, and I'll be there for you. Even if you give up on humanity, I won't, because I'm not human. Rias said this as she looked at neither Naruto nor Earth nor anything else in space. She didn't know where to look, so she didn't look at anything. She didn't think this would go this far. She gave Naruto a quick look and saw that he was staring at her. This is where you tell me you love me too, and then we kiss. That's a space helmet on your head. Naruto told her this with a smile, and she turned red when she realized they couldn't kiss. She could tell he was much happier than when she was trying to seduce him because his cheeks were bright red. Thank you, but no. Even though I'm still human, I don't belong in your society either. You'll live a lot longer than I will, and by the time I die, you'll already be dead. Rias placed her hand over his. That's not important. It doesn't. Even if I can't find a way to turn you into a devil or stay with you for a long time, I'll love the time I have with you even more. I'll always remember the good, the bad, and the sad things we did together. When I see our great-great-grandchildren 1,000 years from now, I'll think of you, and you'll be watching over us from the afterlife. Rias was just going to enjoy all the time she got to spend with Naruto. If the time she had with him was limited, she would fill it with so much love that she would have enough happiness for several lifetimes. Then, she hoped that one day she would be able to come back as a human and that he would choose to come back with her. So, they could meet again and maybe fall in love like it was the first time. I guess I should try my hardest to live forever. Well, that's simple. The Sephiroth Grawl is a sacred gear that can make a person live forever. You just ruined the touching moment we were having. Naruto gave her a deadpan look when her statement of fact got in the way of a great, loving, emotional part of what he was saying. Did I? The whole idea of getting old and dying kind of falls apart when you know a way for us to live forever together, even though I'm human. The romantic moment is ruined. Naruto said what he said with a lot of drama. Rias knew, though, that he was just kidding around with her, so she laughed with him. So, does this count as our first date? Yes. Rias would see this as a good thing. These will have to do until we can find something better. 27 days. On the inside of the moon, 9 large castle-sized domes took 27 days to build. Oxygen was pumped into the moon through these domes. The trees inside these domes started making their own oxygen as soon as the chakra inside them wasn't the only thing that made them grow. Now that they were being fed by both chakra and natural gases, they started making oxygen again instead of natural energy to put into the air. 21 days. That's how long it took Ajuka to finish building 9 big domes that could be used to test if devils could live on the moon, to see if the domes would be a good test. So, he asked 5 families to live in the 9 domes. 4 of the domes were built for different reasons. Biel, Gremory, Citri, Agaras, Phoenix. Families with wild kids could be a great way to find out if the next generation would like living on the moon and if the experience would be worth it. The 5 families had been living in their domes for 6 days at this point. He had built himself a small but still good-sized dome to use as a lab to study the unique plants and animals on the moon. It's crazy to think that soon we won't have to worry about heaven or fallen angels again. Fallen angels can live in the underworld, and heaven can live on Earth. We can live here in peace, far away from them. Sirzex talked as he put his hand on the dome's glass. The deal. The 3 groups had a fragile peace agreement with each other, but it was what allowed them to live together in the end. At the same time, this was a way for them to end their truce in a way that would make sure they wouldn't fight again. They would all live in different places, so they wouldn't have to deal with land issues with the fallen or argue with heaven about land rights on Earth. We are not doing what is right, but we are doing what is smart. Ajuka talked to Sirzex, and Sirzex saw Serafal walking outside the dome in her suit. No one liked having to wear those suits whenever they had to leave the domes, but they didn't have much of a choice in the end. The moon was huge on the inside. They had to live on land that was the size of several continents, and it would take a long time before they could make the outside of the domes airtight. As things stood, only Naruto and the native animals who had the same chakra as Naruto could breathe outside the dome. We feel like we're running away from the Chaos Brigade. We're leaving, we're taking our species out of this fight. Once this test drive is over, we'll build more domes. We'll move more of our people here, and even the weakest members of our species will be safe. Ajuka kept smiling as he kept thinking about it. Safety. They would have their own kingdom, which would no longer be in danger from the other groups and pantheons. They no longer needed evil pieces to make their species grow faster, and they could still get back to Earth with their teleportation magic if they needed to. If they kept all of this a secret, their species could still make deals with humans, grow slowly, and never have to worry about going to war with the others again. All of this is thanks to Naruto. Yes, his very existence is what saved us. The prophecy was right, and he did save us by showing us how to stop fighting peacefully. Ajuka thought the same thing as Sirzex. He didn't like that it wasn't scientific, but he couldn't help but be happy about it. It was easy to see what to do next. To make the moon a place where people could live, he would have to use all of his intelligence and work for hundreds of years. He would have to put everything he had into it, and he was going to love every minute of it. If this works, we, the four Satans, won't need to exist anymore. Sirzex told Ajuka about it. The Satans were in charge of how they dealt with other species, how they defended themselves, and how they ran their military. They wouldn't need a military anymore, and they wouldn't need to be diplomats either. They were going to stop doing what they had been doing for hundreds of years because they would no longer be needed. You will be Sirzex Gremory, and I will be Ajuka Astaroth again. This job will no longer be mine. When Ajuka realized they were going to be free of their responsibilities, he smiled wider and wider. They were no longer going to have to be leaders. They would once again be truly free. No longer tied down by their heavy roles, they were free to live the lives they had always wanted. We won't need any Satans anymore. Sirzex agreed, and when Ajuka got that familiar look in his eye, he smiled at him. I think we might need a leader, though. I'm thinking of someone who lit the way out of the darkness. Sirzex spoke with a smile that was getting bigger and bigger. So you're saying that devils should follow the shadow of the fire? Hey. Ajuka laughed and rubbed his nose as he did so. Serafal's body hit the dome. You stupid deer, let me ride you. Serafal jumped on top of a deer that was 30 feet tall and tried to ride it, but it threw her off. She was looking around the outside of the dome, and Ajuka was glad that the glass had been magically strengthened so that it could withstand hard hits. Hey guys, come on out here and ride this deer with me. Sirzex put his helmet back on and ran out of the dome, knowing that what Serafal was doing was going to be a lot of fun. That looks like fun. Idiots. Ajuka laughed as he saw Sirzex jump on the deer as well. Soon, they were out of sight and Ajuka had forgotten about them. Still, he didn't go with them because he had a lot of work to do. Ajuka looked at the pen on his desk, which he couldn't remember ever having there before. Is that Naruto, or is that Sirzek's pen? At this point, he didn't even know. The paranoia was real, and it was really weird that he didn't know if he was looking at Naruto as a pen or at one of the pens that Sirzex was using. He didn't understand how ninjas could live normal lives when anything or anyone in their environment could be a dangerous enemy. He was beginning to realize how dangerous it would be to have a ninja on your backside. You could never tell when they would kill. Naruto? Ajuka asked as he poked the pen, which fell off his table, landed on the ground, and didn't move. Poof. I wasn't the pen, I was the piece of paper next to the pen. Fucking hell. When Naruto suddenly puffed into existence and showed himself sitting at the table, Ajuka yelled and grabbed his heart in shock. He hadn't even noticed that Naruto was holding the paper he had been writing on, which showed that Naruto had been the paper under his paper. He could feel his heart going 1,000 miles per hour, and it was even faster after he checked the pen and saw that it wasn't Naruto. My heart, my fucked up heart, you almost killed me. Ajuka fell to his knees in a very dramatic way. But he got right back up. Oh, you big baby, I'm just tired. Rias is getting ready to become a peer, and I have nothing to do. I could go check on the other families here, but since my last joke on you didn't work, I'd rather not. The couch or the bar of soap? No. What did you mistakenly become this time? Ajuka was interested because he wanted to know what Naruto had become to get himself into such a sticky situation. Naruto told Sirzex about what was going on, and Sirzex told him what had been going on. He heard from Naruto. Ajuka couldn't stop laughing. He did nothing but watch. So, the test trials have all started to go well, and even though the Phoenix family is upset about their lack of social status, Naruto? Ajuka asked as he looked at Naruto, who was just smiling and staring down at Earth. Naruto said nothing. I'm listening. The building of 100 domes will go forward, and it should be done in about 2 weeks. The young devil's week-long test has been going well. What do you think about moving people quickly to the moon? Ajuka was curious about what Naruto thought. Just now, Naruto looked at Earth. Our species? You are a person, but you are also one of us. Earth is beautiful, isn't it? You can go back if you want. Ajuka also said this as he looked at Earth. He saw that Naruto was in sage mode, but other than that, he seemed to be more interested in something else. Just then, Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Ajuka didn't know. Half or maybe all of the people on Earth are being killed off. This sounds familiar to me. Naruto thought this as he felt gods fighting on Earth and huge fires spreading, which would kill everyone. They thought that the gods of the North were fighting with each other over something and that other gods were getting involved in the fight. Round 2. Full circle. Even so, Naruto just watched as he felt the end of humanity again, knowing that it would come back one day in the far future. Given enough time, the gods would die with the people once they were all gone. Then the whole circle would start over again, but he might not be around to see it this time, or he might not even be on Earth. Anyway, we're giving carbon dioxide to the trees, and we've noticed that when we do that, their ability to make oxygen gets a jump start. We hope that enough oxygen will be made over time so that we won't need the domes. Another option would be to use your chakra to make oxygen on purpose. Since your chakra can turn into wind from nothing, we will study it and see if we can't change it into oxygen. Over your head? Ajuka asked with a strange smile on his face. Sirzex teleported. Ajuka. Earth, Loki has started Ragnarok, and as we speak, all people are being wiped out. Sirzex ran over to his friend and yelled. Ajuka looked at Naruto. You. I see. Ajuka suddenly got a better idea of what the prophecy meant. Naruto was both the destroyer and the savior. Whichever side he was on was saved, but whichever side he left was destroyed. Since Naruto was not on the side of the gods or humans, they were some of the first things to be destroyed on Earth. They had been so busy working on the moon that they had missed everything that was happening on Earth. This time, they had no idea how the Chaos Brigade was moving at all. Full circle. Full circle? Sirzex asked Naruto, not really knowing what to say. It's enough to just get everyone out of the underworld. People are always the first to die, and then the gods. Right now, the gods are at war with each other. It has come full circle back to destruction, but in the future, creation will happen again. Naruto spoke as he had just seen everything happen again. He could feel some of what was going on, the things that were just on the edge of what his sage mode could feel. Only the strongest will survive, but the world will be in ruins. It will be a while before the fighting moves to the underworld, if it ever does. Naruto waved his hand and told them all about it. Slowly, Sirzex realized what was going on, and his eyes got bigger as he remembered what he had seen when he looked into Naruto's memories. This was the second time Naruto had seen the end of the world. Naruto couldn't do anything because he was stuck in place because of his trauma. He couldn't or wouldn't do anything. Shouldn't we try to save? Just save your people, that's all. Maybe the so-called gods will learn that when they mess with humans, it always ends up like this the next time. This next humanity should not have to deal with this, we hope. Naruto said this as he felt like millions of people were dying. He didn't want to save anyone. Full circle. When Ajuka really understood what this meant, he said it again. The thing that started all of this was the fact that Naruto was alive. Naruto decides not to be a hero, and he helps the others find out what's inside the moon. How long? Sirzex also knew it. Naruto was aware. I know when big disasters are about to happen because I can feel it in the air. My whole life has been full of them. I knew that these things would happen a long time ago. I just kind of hoped they wouldn't happen or that someone else would stop them. As he watched it all burn down again, Naruto said. Again, he hoped that the next cycle would bring about people who could get along. He had seen things on a cosmic scale. He had seen the earth bring gods and people to life and take those lives away. He had watched all of human history, so he knew how bad it was and how beautiful it was, too. In the grand scheme of things, human life did have value, but most people didn't deserve the value that other people brought to their lives. Hey, Searsex, are all the other pillar families supposed to be teleporting to their castles now? Serafal appeared in the conversation as if by magic. He put up his hand. I've already sent clones to the underworld to start evacuations. It will be crowded, but everyone will be able to survive with the domes we already have. It just won't be in style. I'm evacuating anyone I think is one of your species as we speak. It might cause some problems, but we'll deal with them when we get there. Naruto spoke in a way that was almost like a robot. He did have a smile, though. Not a mean or happy smile, but a peaceful and calm one. Eh? Serafal didn't understand what he said. Ragnarok. Loki started Ragnarok while we were away. And now. Because of this, the different pantheons have gone to war with each other. After this, only the strongest people will be left alive. People who use sacred gear are trained to fight the supernatural. Normal people, on the other hand, won't make it. Naruto told them. He remembered how it felt when everything died before, and he remembered it very clearly. This time, though, was very different. He had to watch it all the way through, though, because he wanted to remember this history for the rest of his life. He would live forever, and the next time humans came along, he would teach them how to avoid all of this from the start, using everything he had learned. Also, he knew. If there was a lot of blood all around him, the voice in his head would get even louder. He might get more and more involved until he joins in the murder, and if that happens, there might be no hope. At this point, humanity's only hope was that the strongest people would be able to hide and stay alive. He couldn't be the hero, and this time didn't need a hero like him. Then we'll get back to business. Ajuka said this, knowing that the angels in heaven wouldn't help and that the fallen angels in the underworld would also stay out of it. Even though the huge drop in people was sad for them, their religion was going to be fine. I'll go down and talk to the yokai to see if they want to live on the moon. If they do, we'll both be better off. Ajuka could see that bringing in some people who aren't devils could help make the gene pool more diverse in the future. Losing such unique animals would also be a shame. You guys do your work, and I'll sit here. Right now, fake Kurama is really yelling. Naruto could hear Kurama's fake voice screaming so loudly at him to join in. He wished he could help save as many people as possible, but he couldn't do much right now. It really is quite annoying. Naruto stayed in sage mode so he could feel how each god died in battle. He hated being crazy even more than he had before.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.